Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 321, The Forest Witch. Dylan understood Bruno's mindset well. Most fighting-type specialists were like this. They loved straight-up, hard-hitting battles. Bruno was no exception. He thrived on intense, sweat-drenched clashes. He was never too keen on battling psychic or ghost types. In fact, after that first year he joined the Kanto League and challenged Agatha, he never battled her again. Ghost-type specialists played dirty. Bruno was certain of it. Hatterene, battle ready. Dylan threw out his second pokeball. With a flash of white light, a humanoid Pokemon landed gracefully before him. Her body was a mix of soft pink and white, resembling a noblewoman wearing a witch's hat and flowing dress. The hat's brim extended upward like a claw, and her whole aura was regal and mysterious. This was the so-called Forest Witch, Hatterene. Beep Hatterene, Psychic/Fairy type, the silent Pokemon. Ability, Magic Bounce. Moves: Magic Powder, Wish, Psychic, Calm Mind, Psychic Cut, Expanding Force. Description: if someone steps into her forest, she stuns them with a beam of light, then uses her psychically charged claws to tear them apart. Hatterene. Bruno stared at the eerie, elegant Pokemon, brows furrowed. He knew this species, psychic and fairy type, both of which resisted fighting. That meant she quadruple resisted his main type. This wasn't going to be easy. Her typing completely countered Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan. Move in close. Bruno acted quickly. With priority moves like Bullet Punch disabled under psychic terrain, he had no choice but to close the gap manually. No way he could win a long-range fight with Hatterene. Hitmonchan let out a cry and charged at her, but his speed was sluggish. In Trick Room, speed stats were inverted. While Hitmonchan's base speed was a middling 76, Hatterene's was a pitiful 29. That made Hatterene perfect for Trick Room as a special attacker. Her HP and speed were low, but every other stat, especially special attack, was excellent. So in Trick Room, she had a clear edge. Hitmonchan was like a tank crawling through molasses. Too slow. Dylan chuckled, shaking his head. Hatterene, Expanding Force. Hatterene let out a melodic hum and darted toward Hitmonchan at surprising speed. She appeared behind him in an instant, claws glowing with light as waves of psychic energy rippled around her. Psychic-type move, Expanding Force. Under psychic terrain, its power increases and it hits a wider area. Combine that with Hatterene's natural affinity, and this hit was devastating. Hitmonchan. Detect. Bruno's face grew serious. He knew exactly how hard this would hit. Hitmonchan's eyes gleamed as his body twisted unnaturally, just dodging the blast. Boom! The energy exploded behind him, but didn't connect. Can you dodge the next one? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Expanding Force again. Hatterene's eyes grew cold. Her hat-like claws lashed out once more, targeting Hitmonchan from behind. A second Expanding Force charged up. Fire Punch. Bruno didn't hesitate. Hitmonchan's fist burst into flames, and he slammed it into the oncoming wave of psychic energy. Boom! Flames and psychic light clashed in a violent explosion. Hitmonchan gritted his teeth, pouring all his power into the strike. But the blast was too strong. Boom! Expanding Force broke through, striking Hitmonchan hard and sending him flying. He landed with a pained cry, skidding across the floor. Even with a partial block, the boosted Expanding Force was brutal. Hitmonchan's special defense helped, but not enough against a move this powerful and super effective. Yikes, that must have hurt. Up in the stands, a crowd had gathered. Among them, 3 familiar ladies. Hatterene is so beautiful, the Psychic-type girl had stars in her eyes. Yes. This was the kind of elegant, powerful Pokemon a Psychic like her should use. Can't deny Bruno's training skills, though, murmured the birdkeeper. That Hitmonchan is tough. Most would have dropped instantly from that hit. Moonblast, Dylan ordered calmly. No mercy when the enemy is down. Pink energy pulsed from Hatterene, heading straight for the still recovering Hitmonchan. He wouldn't survive that hit. Return, Hitmonchan. Bruno recalled him just in time. Moonblast's area of effect was wide, and in Trick Room, dodging it wasn't happening. I need to stall out both Psychic Terrain and Trick Room, Bruno muttered. He had enough battle experience to pinpoint the problem. Steelix. His choice was immediate. A massive, serpentine Pokemon slammed down in front of him, towering over the battlefield. It was Steelix, silver-gray, segmented like boulders, with massive jaws and a drill-like tail. Strong, no doubt. But why does Bruno have a Steelix as a mainstay? Yellow asked, puzzled. Isn't he a fighting-type specialist? Maybe because it looks so strong and cool, Leaf suggested. Indeed, Steelix's sheer size gave it massive presence, nearly 10 meters long, by her estimate. Back on the field. Steelix, huh? Dylan arched a brow. Steelix resisted both Fairy and Psychic and countered Hatterene's typing well. More importantly, Steelix, dig. Bruno barked. Steelix dove underground with a thunderous crash. Yes, Steelix knew dig, and Hatterene had little to counter that. She'd learned mystical fire via mimicry, but charging blindly toward the burrow? Too risky. Steelix might just be lurking near the surface, waiting. Dig would buy time for Trick Room and Psychic Terrain to expire. Bruno's experience was showing. Calm mind, Dylan said calmly. If you're hiding underground, then I'll just boost up. Hatterene closed her eyes, soft waves of light rippling around her as her special attack and defense rose. Steelix. Bruno called, unwilling to let her keep boosting. Steelix erupted from the ground, slamming into Hatterene. She cried out, knocked back by the hit, but her calm mind boost had gone through. She caught herself midair with psychic force, landing gracefully. But her eerie eyes now held a darker glint. The forest which was getting angry. Iron Tail. No more digging. If he did, she'd just keep boosting. Giga Drain, Dylan smirked. Steelix's massive tail gleamed and came crashing down. Hatterene lit up with green energy, so did Steelix, though for different reasons. Boom! Iron Tail struck, but green sparks surged between them as Hatterene absorbed his energy. Hatterene staggered, but the drain worked. Steelix recoiled, weakened, while she visibly healed. Bruno's brow tightened. That hit had basically done nothing. Whatever damage he dealt, Hatterene just sapped right back. And with her calm mind up, her healing was even stronger. Steelix had become nothing but a healing fountain. The only good news, Psychic Terrain in Trick Room finally faded. Return, Steelix. Bruno took a deep breath. Champion Dylan was truly terrifying. He felt so much pressure. Swapping again? Dylan wasn't surprised. Steelix had the typing advantage, but against Hatterene with Giga Drain, he didn't stand a chance. Even standing still, he'd lose. Lucario. You're up. Bruno tossed out his third Pokeball. Oh. Dylan blinked, then remembered. Bruno did have a Lucario in Heart Gold/Soul Silver. The Aura Pokemon landed silently, sharp eyes locked on Hatterene. Standing on two legs, sleek yet muscular, it looked battle-ready, spikes on its paws and chest gleaming. This was Lucario. Chapter 322, Demon. Whoa, it's a Lucario. Yellow's big eyes sparkled. She was very interested in Lucario because she thought Lucario looked cool. In other words, pure aesthetics. Lucario has the steel typing. Bruno's clearly aiming to counter here. Leaf watched the cool and composed Lucario. Steelix was one thing, but Lucario was a full-on offensive Pokemon. Deep Lucario, fighting/steel type, or a Pokemon. ability, inner focus. Moves: close combat, extreme speed, dragon pulse, aura sphere, meteor mash, swords dance, bone rush. Description: it channels a mysterious force known as aura, strong enough to shatter massive boulders. This Lucario was strong. Looking at its data, Asha glanced at Hatterene. With Trick Room and Psychic Terrain both gone, she wasn't sure how Hatterene could hold up. On the field. Lucario, huh? Dylan chuckled at the sight. Lucario was one of the most popular Pokémon in the entire franchise. The reason? The movie laid a solid foundation, and with a striking design and mega evolution, Lucario checked every box for power players, style lovers, and story fans alike. Compared to another movie-mon like Zoroark, Lucario's fame was in a whole different league. Of course, Dylan liked Lucario too, handsome and strong. What wasn't to love? Lucario, extreme speed. Bruno launched the first strike without hesitation. With no psychic terrain to block priority moves, now was the time to attack. Trick Room. Dylan didn't tell Hatterene to bat and pass just yet. A flash of white light erupted behind Lucario as it dashed at Hatterene with blinding speed. Hatterene raised her claw, beginning to form a translucent white cube in the air. Boom! Extreme speed connected hard. Lucario smashed into Hatterene, who groaned in pain. But the Trick Room cube had already been cast into the air. Meteor mash. Bruno followed up instantly. Lucario's right fist gleamed with metallic light and slammed toward Hatterene. The combo of extreme speed and meteor mash came too fast. Hatterene couldn't dodge and instead activated Psychic. Blue light engulfed Lucario, briefly halting its movement as her psychic power restrained it. But Lucario broke through in the next instant. His glowing fist carved a meteor trail through the air as it crashed into Hatterene. Hatterene let out a sharp cry, flung backward by the hit. Being Steel-type, Meteor Mash was super effective. Hatterene's HP took a sharp dip. Her physical defense was decent, but Fairy-types in general had pretty low HP. Still, Trick Room expanded once more, twisting the battlefield around them. Again with Trick Room. The tall girl frowned at the spatial distortion. Hatterene's so slow, it's a perfect Trick Room user, but still. The Birdkeeper stared at her. Even with Trick Room, priority moves like extreme speed ignore the inversion. Lucario still gets to move first. Exactly, priority moves bypass Trick Room's speed reversal. If only Psychic Terrain were still up, the tall girl muttered. Trick Room plus Psychic Terrain would make this Hatterene nearly unstoppable. She clicked her tongue in frustration, then realized someone was unusually quiet. Where was the psychic specialist? She turned to see him glaring at Lucario with clenched fists. Bruno is so shameless. A fighting-type elite using extreme speed and meteor mash. His voice dripped with outrage. That mud of a Lucario, how dare it hit Hatterene so hard? Tall girl and Birdkeeper, ? Back on the field. Lucario, extreme speed. Despite Trick Room, Bruno wasn't worried. Lucario's speed was average at best, but it had great agility and access to tons of priority moves. Vacuum Wave, Quick Attack, Extreme Speed, even Bullet Punch via breathing. What really scared him wasn't Trick Room, but Psychic Terrain. That would have disabled all priority moves. Lucario burst toward Hatterene again, but this time, it was clearly slower. Priority or not, the actual movement speed still depended on base stats, and Trick Room hit Lucario hard. Levitate. Life do. Dylan smiled calmly. Hatterene shimmered with blue light and floated up. She began conjuring a stream of water droplets that rained down upon her body. Lucario, stop it. Bruno's face turned serious. Life Dew was a healing move, he couldn't let her recover. Lucario lunged beneath her and leapt up like a bullet. Boom! Extreme speed struck again. Hatterene cried out as she was knocked back. You fell for it, Mr. Bruno. Dylan's smile deepened. Pain split. What? Bruno's pupils shrank. What did Dylan just say? Still panting, Hatterene locked eyes with Lucario. White light glowed around both of them. 2 glowing orbs rose from their bodies, merged in the air, then split and returned to each Pokémon. Normal type move, Pain Split. It adds both HP totals, then evenly redistributes. But Hatterene was already hurt, and Lucario was at full HP. This was robbery, not sharing. In an instant, Hatterene looked good as new while Lucario visibly weakened. Brilliant! That flipped the whole fight. The Psychic-type trainer pumped his fists. Pain Split was a godsend, recovered Hatterene, weakened Lucario. Bruno got careless. Clearly hasn't watched Dylan's gym matches. The Birdkeeper shrugged. He'd seen this Pain Split plenty of times, hell, he'd felt it himself. Bruno's expression soured, so much effort, erased in one move. Psychic Terrain. Dylan smiled faintly. Hatterene touched down, and waves of purple energy spread outward. Extreme Speed. Bruno's face tightened. Trick Room was already tough. If Psychic Terrain came out too, how would Lucario even fight? Lucario darted forward again, Extreme Speed hit clean. But it wasn't enough to interrupt the casting. Psychic Terrain's glow spread across the field. Meteor Mash. Lucario's metallic fist swung down once more. Boom! It smashed into Hatterene, who screamed as she was flung away. But at the same time, purple energy blanketed the battlefield. Psychic Terrain was now active. Meteor Mash again. Bruno clenched his fists. This wasn't looking good. Lucario launched forward once more, but without Extreme Speed's boost, and under Trick Room? He moved like he was underwater. Too slow, Hatterene. Dylan's lips curled up. Hatterene's dark eyes locked on, her body slipped past Lucario, then whipped around behind him. Lucario! Bruno shouted a warning. But Lucario sensed it too, he tried to turn. Mystical Fire. Hatterene traced a ring in the air with her claw, then launched a flaming projectile straight through it. Boom! The fireball exploded on Lucario's back, sending him flying. He hit the ground hard, clenching his jaw in pain. His defenses were nothing special, and fairy types typically weren't tanky either. That fire-type move, paired with the earlier Pain Split, left Lucario in a rough spot. Mystical Fire. Hatterene closed in again, drawing another ring of fire with her claw. Lucario, detect. Bruno knew Lucario couldn't dodge it normally, she was too fast under Trick Room. But Lucario's perceptive ability was excellent. With Aura as a sixth sense, it could see the attack. Whether it could avoid it was another matter. Lucario's eyes gleamed, and with Detect active, he twisted his body mid-roll to narrowly dodge the blast. Mystical Fire exploded where he had just stood. Return, Lucario. Bruno withdrew him immediately. With both Psychic Terrain and Trick Room up, keeping Lucario in was pointless. Bruno looked at Hatterene, a grimace overtaking his rugged face. How the hell do you fight a demon like that? Yeah, Hitmonchan, Steelix, Lucario. Bruno had already sent out 3 Pokémon. And he'd only been fighting Hatterene this whole time. Leaf's face twitched as she tried not to laugh. Watching Bruno claw his hair in frustration finally made her chuckle. Well, at least he seemed to be enjoying himself. Chapter 323, I finally defeated Dylan's Pokémon. Bruno was seriously pondering a very important question. Just what Pokémon did he have left that could beat this Hatterene? 3 against 1, and every single one of his Pokémon had been injured and forced to retreat. Bruno honestly felt like this thing was cursed. Even Lucario, who had a type advantage, couldn't beat it. How was he supposed to keep fighting? With both Psychic Terrain and Trick Room on the field, and Hatterene using cursed moves like Pain Split, it was a nightmare. He worked so hard to deal heavy damage, only for one Pain Split to reset everything back to square one. If he weren't so mentally strong, Bruno felt like he'd have lost his cool already. Hitmonlee. After some hesitation, he sent out his 4th Pokeball. With a flash of white light, a nimble Hitmonlee landed lightly on the field with a quick bounce, but the next moment, his motion noticeably slowed. Trick Room had taken effect. The Kicking Fiend, huh? Asha stared at the humanoid, headless Hitman Lee. Among the public, this was probably one of Bruno's most iconic fighting types. In Kanto, Hitman Lee was known as the kicking fiend, thanks to its extendable legs capable of delivering any kind of kick. Deep Hitman Lee, fighting type, kicking Pokemon. Ability, reckless. Moves, low sweep, high jump kick, reversal, blaze kick, mega kick, feint, brick break. Description, possesses incredible balance, able to deliver continuous kicks from any position. So many kicking moves. Hitman Lee, ha! Looks like he's going for an all-kick strategy, Dylan assessed with a glance. Hatterene, expanding force. His tone was calm and serene. Hitman Lee was nothing like Steelix or Lucario, it had no resistance to psychic at all. Hatterene instantly dashed toward Hitman Lee. Under Trick Room, she was lightning fast. Blaze kick. Hitman Lee flicked his right leg twice to loosen up, then suddenly spun around. Whoosh! His blazing leg shot out like a spring, tearing through the air fast as lightning, straight toward Hatterene. A fire-type blaze kick. Hatterene was quadruple resistant to fighting moves, so of course Bruno wouldn't use those. The flames reflected in Hatterene's eyes as she narrowed her gaze and raised her claw. Colorful ripples shimmered, the psychic-type move expanding force. Boom! The blaze kick smashed into the expanding psychic waves. Flames exploded violently, scorching everything in front of Hatterene. But as expanding force erupted outward, Hitman Lee retracted his leg and twisted lightly on the ground, his foot stung. As the energy dispersed, Hatterene narrowed her eyes at him. There had been at least 7 or 8 meters between them, and yet he'd managed to stretch his leg that far, that fast? Such fast legs. The tall girl was visibly surprised. No doubt. Hitman Lee's legs can extend and retract, but I've never seen one faster or more powerful than Bruno's. The birdkeeper agreed. Good thing Dylan's Hatterene reacted fast. That sudden blaze kick, most Pokemon wouldn't have dodged it. I have a feeling this Hitman Lee might be more dangerous than the last 3 combined, the psychic trainer muttered, brows furrowed. With his spring-loaded legs, Hitman Lee didn't even need to approach to land attacks. And because of the spring mechanism, his kicks weren't slowed down by Trick Room at all. Hatterene, psychic. Dylan gave it some thought. Even with Trick Room active, it wouldn't be easy for Hatterene to get close. Hatterene's eyes lit up with deep blue energy. A powerful psychic force enveloped Hitman Lee, lifting him off the ground. Such a strong psychic? Bruno frowned. His Hitman Lee was no slouch, if even he couldn't shake off the control, that said a lot. Mega kick. If you can't break free, then attack. Hitman Lee stopped struggling. His right foot glowed white as it shot toward Hatterene. A powerful normal-type mega kick. Hatterene dodged, not backward, but forward, sending out more psychic ripples. Psychic-type expanding force. Boom! The mega kick slammed into where Hatterene had just stood, shaking the ground. Psychic was lifted, but Hitman Lee didn't fall. Instead, using the recoil from mega kick, he spun mid-air. Poison jab. His left foot glowed a sinister purple like a blade, stretching out at high speed. A poison-type poison jab. At the same time, Hatterene's expanding force launched at him. The 2 attacks crossed paths mid-air. Boom! Poison jab crashed into Hatterene's chest. She let out a piercing shriek, body flung across the ground. The impact shattered the floor beneath her, showing just how strong that kick had been. Being fairy-type, Hatterene was weak to poison. This hit was brutal. But her expanding force had also landed, sending Hitman Lee flying as his legs retracted. He crashed down, eyes full of pain. Under psychic terrain, expanding force hit like a truck. At that moment, the spatial distortion faded. Trick Room had ended. Which also meant psychic terrain was nearly up. Hatterene, expanding force. Dylan wanted to finish it off. The last expanding force had done a lot, but not quite enough. Hatterene lifted herself out of the crater with psychic energy, her blue eyes locking onto Hitman Lee. Ripples of light surged, psychic waves surged toward him. Hitman Lee. Bruno roared like a beast. Hitmonlee clenched through the pain, trying to dodge, but the expanding force was too fast. Boom! It struck him squarely, unleashing massive psychic shockwaves and a cloud of dust. Too bad. If the terrain had ended first, Hitmonlee might have had a chance. Yellow tilted her head thoughtfully. There was no way he could tank a psychic terrain-boosted expanding force in that state. Hitmonlee was definitely done. A shame. If he'd waited it out, Hitmonlee could have used Sucker Punch and maybe taken Hatterene down. Yeah, wait. Leaf nodded, ready to declare the result, when a foot cloaked in purple poison shot out from the smoke. Hatterene, already turning her back to return to Dylan's side, hadn't even noticed. Only when the tearing wind reached her ears did she react. She turned. Wham! Hatterene's body was launched by the surprise poison jab, tumbling across the ground. The smoke cleared, revealing a gasping, battered Hitmonlee still standing. What the? No way. Not even Protect would have been fast enough there. How the hell did he survive that last hit? The trio was stunned, as were the other spectators. Dylan raised an eyebrow. Endure? Then he realized, of course. Judging by Hitmonlee's state, he'd used Endure. Normal type move, Endure. Even if you take damage, you survive with 1 HP. Not bad. Dylan raised a brow and looked at Hatterene. Sure enough, she lay unconscious on the ground. That sneak attack had hit clean, and it had clearly been Hitmonlee's final move. Hatterene is unable to battle. Hitmonlee wins. Leaf stepped onto the field and declared the result. She hadn't expected that ending at all. Bruno let out a long breath. He'd finally defeated Hatterene. Finally. That thing had been a nightmare. Well done. Get some rest. Dylan recalled Hatterene with praise. She'd performed beautifully, he was satisfied. Impressive, Mr. Bruno. You actually managed to defeat my Hatterene. You flatter me, Champion Dylan, Bruno said, a bit embarrassed. Yes, technically he'd won, but Hatterene had taken on 4 of his Pokémon, and most of them were in bad shape. If not for that final Endure into surprise attack, she could have kept going. Very few can defeat my ace. No need for modesty. Dylan smiled. Sure, it was a bit self-aggrandizing, but no one thought he was wrong. Because Dylan had earned the right to boast. Indeed. Dylan threw out another Pokeball. The support Pokémon landed and immediately activated Psychic Terrain again. Bruno's eyes narrowed at the soft, doll-like creature. Psychic Terrain was too impactful on Dylan's team. From what he'd seen so far, the real problem wasn't just boosting psychic moves, it was shutting down priority moves. Most psychic types were frail up close. But with Psychic Terrain, you couldn't close the gap. Will he use Trick Room again? Bruno wondered, hoping a strong poison jab could take this lead mon out. After all, Hitmonchan had landed a clean hit on her before. Baton Pass. But Dylan didn't give him that chance. His next Pokémon didn't need Trick Room. Bruno decided not to have Hitmonlee boost itself. He wanted to see what Dylan's next Pokémon would be before switching. Gardevoir, take the field. Dylan tossed out his third Pokeball. White light flashed, an elegant, humanoid Pokémon floated gently to the ground, calm and serene as she gazed at Hitmonlee. The audience immediately stirred. What a beautiful Pokémon! Chapter 324, Shiny Legendary. The hem of the white skirt fluttered lightly. Its inner lining was a soft blue, with matching blue hair that curled down beneath the head, and vivid red structures on the chest and back. This was a shiny Gardevoir. So beautiful. The psychic trainer in the audience was completely entranced. Gardevoir had always been a fan favorite among psychic types, and shiny Gardevoirs were incredibly rare. That elegance, that poise, that figure. He swallowed hard. The woman beside him and the birdkeeper instinctively scooted a little farther away. Especially the birdkeeper, who couldn't stop twitching at the corners of his eyes as he eyed the psychic guy. This dude didn't have any weird thoughts, right? Like, come on, be a person. Wait, wasn't there that one trainer who actually married his Gardevoir? Wonder if the kid's been born yet. But seriously, this shiny Gardevoir is gorgeous, the woman said enviously. The Gardevoir's serene, graceful aura was simply unmatched. Beep Gardevoir, Psychic/Fairy type, Embrace Pokemon. Ability, Trace. Moves, Future Sight, Dream Eater, Moonblast, Psychic, Calm Mind, Thunderbolt. Dex entry. It has the power to warp space using psychic energy and can create miniature black holes. It will do anything to protect its trainer. This one looks even stronger than that Hatterene from before. Reading through the data, the older girl smacked her lips in awe. Then again, that was just Dylan's style, the strongest Pokemon always came out later. On the battlefield. Gardevoir's eyes shimmered with eerie colors as she stared at Hitmonlee. Her body gave off a brief flicker of light. Trace activated. Upon entering battle, it copied the opponent's ability. Bruno noticed and relaxed a bit. Hitmonlee's ability was reckless, not exactly helpful to a Gardevoir. A Gardevoir, huh? Another Pokemon that quadruple resisted fighting types. Bruno recalled Hitmonlee and took a moment to consider, then threw out his fifth Pokeball. He needed to deal with that psychic terrain. Hitmontop. A flash of white light, and a brown-bodied Pokemon landed in front of him, balanced on one hand with blue armored limbs and bandage-like markings. Hitmontop had entered the field. Beep Hitmontop, Fighting type, Handstand Pokemon. Ability, Technician. Moves, Reversal, Counter, Close Combat, Dig, Sucker Punch, Detect, Rapid Spin. Dex entry, if you get caught admiring its beautiful spinning kicks, you'll be greeted with a brutal strike. Hitmontop, huh? Dylan raised a brow. Finally, he couldn't help but chuckle. Hitmontop, Rapid Spin. Bruno barked. Hitmontop planted a hand and flipped over, spinning rapidly as icy blue energy surrounded it. Rapid Spin was a move that could break the terrain. That's right, Bruno had had enough of psychic terrain. He knew Dylan would try to stop him, but he had to try. Otherwise, the psychic terrain was just too disruptive. Psychic. Dylan chuckled softly. No way was he letting Bruno succeed that easily. Gardevoir extended her arms and aimed at Hitmontop. Her eyes lit up with deep blue light. Psychic-type move, Psychic. Hitmontop was quickly enveloped in a blue aura. His previously rapid spinning slowed, and his body began lifting off the ground. Even though Rapid Spin was still active, the spinning speed was far too slow. And since he wasn't touching the ground, he couldn't destroy the terrain either. Such strong psychic. Bruno tensed up. Send him flying. Dylan's smile deepened. Gardevoir gave a soft hum and raised her hand gently. Hitmontop continued floating upward. Hitmontop, Rock Slide. Bruno couldn't take it anymore. He had to break Gardevoir's concentration. Hitmontop cancelled Rapid Spin, summoning a cascade of boulders above Gardevoir's head. Rock-type move, Rock Slide. It wasn't super effective against Psychic or Fairy types, but Gardevoir's physical defense was low. If those rocks landed, it'd hurt. But Gardevoir didn't try to control him anymore. Instead, she sidestepped effortlessly, the rocks tumbling harmlessly past. With Psychic's effect gone, Hitmontop began to fall. Bruno exhaled in relief. But then... Teleport. Gardevoir vanished in a blink of blue light. Hitmontop. Bruno's eyes widened. Gardevoir's graceful figure appeared right behind him. Sensing a presence, Hitmontop instinctively turned around. Only to meet her eyes, glowing with psychic energy and radiating hypnotic ripples. Hitmontop stared. Suddenly dizzy and dazed, his once vigilant gaze faded into drowsiness. Thump. Hitmontop dropped to the ground, snoring. Gardevoir landed lightly beside him, white skirt swaying, her gaze calm and serene. Hypnosis. Bruno practically spat out each syllable. No doubt about it, this was psychic-type hypnosis. Hypnosis usually wasn't easy to land, but come on, eye contact? She teleported right behind him. Even without his warning, Hitmontop would have turned around. So cheap. Such a gorgeous Pokemon using such underhanded moves, it felt like a betrayal. Bruno debated whether to recall him. Then. Mean look, Dylan said nonchalantly. Bruno's eyes shot open. Gardevoir's gaze turned dark and ominous, the shadow beneath Hitmontop flickering unnaturally. Normal type move, mean look. Now he couldn't recall Hitmontop. Seriously, Champion Dylan, wasn't this a bit excessive? Bruno's rugged face was filled with bitterness. Hitmontop was already asleep, why not let it go? Expanding force. Gardevoir raised her right hand, and colorful waves of psychic energy began to swirl. Psychic terrain was still up, so expanding force had the bonus damage and area boost. Dream Eater wouldn't even hit that hard, and Gardevoir didn't need to heal right now anyway. Hitmontop, sleep talk. Bruno wasn't giving up. With his Pokemon asleep, this was his only option. Hitmontop suddenly moved again. Balancing on his hands, his legs began spinning with a bright white glow. Sleep Talk pulled a triple kick combo. But before he could land the hit, expanding force erupted, blasting him midair. The wave sent him flying. Despite being asleep, his face twisted in pain. Bruno watched helplessly. One more expanding force. Hitmontop, Sleep Talk. This time he lucked out. Sleep Talk gave him aerial ace. But it wasn't enough. Expanding force ripped through the flying energy and slammed into him. He crashed to the ground and didn't get back up. Hitmontop is unable to battle. Gardevoir wins. Leaf announced the result. This round had been a total stomp. Once Hitmontop was put to sleep, the match had already been over. They're just not in the same league. That Gardevoir's a beast. Mostly, it was that hypnosis, it was executed so perfectly. Otherwise, Dylan probably still would have won, but it would have taken more effort. The Birdkeeper chimed in. Gardevoir was stronger than Hatterene, but not overwhelmingly so. Champion Dylan really is something else. Bruno smiled in admiration as he recalled Hitmontop. You're not bad yourself, Dylan replied with a polite smile. Ha, Champion Dylan, don't say that I'm getting steamrolled over here, Bruno laughed heartily. Now it's time for my final trump card. This is the Pokemon that's been with me since I first became a trainer. My strongest partner, Machamp. Bruno tossed out his final Pokeball with a fiery aura. A hulking Machamp landed on the field, flexing its four muscular arms with vigor. A Guts Machamp, huh? That's Bruno's signature Pokemon. Asha's eyes sparkled, she recognized it from the old Elite Four poster. Bruno's signature Pokemon had always been Machamp. Very impressive, Dylan said after a brief assessment. You've raised him well. Ha! That's my pride and joy. Bruno beamed, his voice deep with pride. He's been with me since he was just a Machop. We've trained together every day. Though it's a shame. I've been trying to find a Megastone for him ever since Mega Evolution was discovered, but no one's seen a Machampite yet. He sounded genuinely disappointed. If only Machamp had a unique Mega Evolution. Bruno had even looked into Dynamax. He'd seen photos of Gigantamax Machamp from Galar. It looked insanely cool. Too bad that was a Galar-only phenomenon. You couldn't Dynamax in Kanto. Mega Evolution is Pokemon-specific, Dylan said kindly. Some Pokemon simply don't have a Megastone. Mr. Bruno, I'd recommend trying Steelix or Lucario instead. He didn't say it outright, but your ace is just like Lance's. It ain't getting a Mega Evolution anytime soon. Ah. Bruno looked heartbroken. Really? His ripped, manly Machamp didn't get a Mega Evolution? I'm afraid so. So maybe it's best not to waste too much effort searching. Dylan confirmed gently. At least in his original timeline, Machamp had no Megastone. Bruno sighed. He trusted Dylan. You've mastered Mega Evolution, haven't you? He asked, eyeing Gardevoir. Of course. Dylan nodded like it was a given. Then could you show me? Bruno asked earnestly. Honestly, I've never fought a Mega Evolved Pokemon before. He was genuinely curious. Of course. Gardevoir can Mega Evolve, Dylan said. But once she does, her power will increase significantly. You don't have a Mega Evolution yourself. It wouldn't be fair. Dylan raised a brow in warning. No worries. Don't hold back, Champion Dylan. Bruno waved it off with a big smile. He wasn't here to win, just to enjoy the ride. Heck, if he'd drawn his legendary team, he'd have told Dylan to use Kyurem already. He still regretted not getting a closer look at Kyurem back in Saffron City. If he could take a selfie with Kyurem during battle, that would be incredible clout. He could brag about it forever. I once challenged Rhoda Gym, and Champion Dylan used Kyurem to demolish me. Now that would be something to talk about. Alright then, Champion Dylan. I'm ready. Bruno grinned with excitement, motioning for Dylan to begin. He was probably about to become the first trainer to get clobbered by Dylan's Mega Evolution. Chapter 325, I beat at least one, okay? Don't worry, it's coming right up. Dylan reached into his pocket with his gloved hand and took out a gleaming, translucent keystone. Watch closely, Mr. Bruno. This is the Mega Evolution you've been waiting to see. Gardevoir. The keystone radiated a dazzling light. At the same time, Gardevoir spread her arms gracefully, and the Mega Stone on her neck began to shine and sync. Super Evolution, beyond the bounds of regular evolution. A rainbow-colored aura enveloped Gardevoir's entire body, her figure rapidly shifting within the light. Soon, the glow dissipated. Her flowing gown swirled elegantly as her two white legs crossed beneath the black dress. Mega Gardevoir slowly lowered her arms, her calm, unreadable gaze settling on Macamp. Whoa! Gasps of amazement erupted from the stands. If normal Gardevoir looked like she wore a modest white dress, Mega Gardevoir looked like she was dressed in a luxurious ball gown. This particular shiny Mega Gardevoir had a pitch-black gown so dark it glimmered, flawless in its purity. Even the draping behind her arms flowed like the train of a grand dress. The red structure on her chest had doubled, giving a more symmetrical aesthetic. Elegant, regal, and mysterious. The contrast between her original white and now jet-black gown was visually stunning. Wow! She's way too pretty. Leaf was stunned, this was her first time seeing a Mega Gardevoir in person. Right? She's gorgeous. Lily's eyes sparkled with admiration. She was suddenly struck with the urge to raise a Gardevoir herself. She looked up Gardevoir's data on her Pokédex. Besides gaining the Pixelate ability, there wasn't much else that changed. Huh? No extra entry for the Mega Evolution? On the field. So, Mr. Bruno, what do you think of my Mega Gardevoir? Dylan admired her form with satisfaction. She's beautiful. Bruno scratched his head. He honestly couldn't come up with a better word. Even he couldn't deny her breathtaking elegance. He had to admit she was truly beautiful. Right? I think so too, Dylan chuckled. But Mr. Bruno, my Mega Gardevoir isn't just about looks. After all, in a Pokemon battle, it's not about appearances. Even the contest spectaculars weren't just about beauty, let alone an actual competitive match. Well, we'll just have to find out, won't we? Bruno grinned, excited. Macamp, Earthquake. Macamp let out a grunt, clenched his fists, and slammed the ground hard. Ground-type move, Earthquake. Rumble. Shockwaves rippled across the field toward Mega Gardevoir. Her eyes lit up with blue energy as she gently floated into the air, hovering effortlessly above the battlefield. She gazed down at Macamp with a queenly calm like a midnight monarch. Bruno looked at her. Well, the black gown completely concealed everything below, not that he was trying to look there or anything. Main point, with Gardevoir airborne, Macamp couldn't reach her easily. Psychic terrain had ended, so priority moves were now usable. As Earthquake ended, Mega Gardevoir descended slightly. Psychic. Her blue gaze gleamed as she extended one hand. A wave of iridescent psychic energy surged forward. Bullet punch. Machamp's four fists clenched and shimmered with metallic light as he dashed toward Gardevoir. Steel-type priority move, bullet punch. The added speed let Machamp avoid the psychic blast, bringing him right up to Gardevoir as she touched down. His four fists launched like rapid-fire rounds. Mega Gardevoir's form shimmered with blue light as she used psychic power to step back swiftly, dodging the punches. Her raw speed wasn't exceptional, but with her Mega Form's boosted psychic power, she could maneuver herself using telekinesis to avoid Machamp's punches. Poison jab. Seeing Bullet Punch wasn't working, Bruno didn't hesitate. Machamp growled and coated one of his fists in a dark purple toxic glow, flattening it into a blade aimed directly at her chest. Poison-type move, Poison Jab. Mega Gardevoir shifted just in time. Her dress fluttered dramatically as the poisonous strike barely missed her. Psychic. She glided up to Machamp and gently pressed a gloved palm against his chest. Machamp cocked his head. What's this chick doing? Falling for me or something? Boom! A surge of psychic energy detonated point-blank against his chest. Machamp roared in pain, his massive body sent flying through the air. Gardevoir. She raised her right arm, and a stream of blue psychic energy shot out, catching Machamp midair before he hit the ground. She slowly raised her palm, and his body began to rise again, this time nearly touching the arena's ceiling. Machamp. Bruno's face changed. Machamp grimaced in agony. That point-blank psychic had been brutal. Mega Gardevoir's special attack was no joke. And before he could recover from the blast, she had already locked him in place. Floating helplessly near the ceiling, Machamp seethed in pain and frustration. As Bruno debated whether to open the ceiling panels, Mega Gardevoir gave a small wave of her hand. Wham! Machamp crashed down like a meteor, slamming into the battlefield with an earth-shaking impact. Dust and debris flew everywhere. With a wave, Mega Gardevoir summoned a psychic gust, clearing the dust. Machamp lay sprawled in a crater, limbs akimbo, but he wasn't out yet. Hyper Beam, Dylan said, eyes narrowing slightly. Mega Gardevoir floated up once more, raising her right arm. A pink sphere of energy gathered in her palm, growing rapidly. Wait, is that Hyper Beam? Bruno blinked. Wasn't Hyper Beam usually red, yellow, or black? What's with this pink energy? With a graceful push, Gardevoir released the blast. Machamp, Dynamic Punch. Machamp forced himself up, his fists glowing bright white. He thrust upward toward the incoming beam. Fighting-type move, Dynamic Punch. Boom! The Hyper Beam slammed into Machamp's attack. The shockwave was massive. Even with all four arms bracing, Machamp couldn't hold back the pink beam. The ground cracked under his feet as the attack overpowered him and engulfed him entirely. A deafening explosion followed as the Hyper Beam detonated. Wind and energy surged in every direction. Even Dylan and Bruno had to shield their faces. Too powerful. Bruno's heart sank. What kind of Hyper Beam was this? Why was it pink? When the dust settled, Machamp was unconscious, battered and broken, lying in a shattered crater. Bruno stood speechless. Machamp had always been his pride, resilient, powerful, relentless. But just one point-blank psychic, a slam from telekinesis, and that Hyper Beam, and he was done? Mega Gardevoir's ability is Pixelate, Dylan explained. It turns normal-type moves into fairy-type, and boosts their power. Which meant that pink Hyper Beam was a fairy-type Hyper Beam, buffed by Pixelate. I see, Bruno quietly recalled his Machamp. Machamp is unable to battle. Mega Gardevoir wins. Leaf announced. Looking at the elegant, mysterious figure floating across from him, Bruno could only rub his head in frustration. There was no comparison. TCH, full team battle and Bruno only beat one of Dylan's Pokémon. The birdkeeper clicked his tongue in amazement. Psychic types are unbeatable. The psychic trainer practically preened. That's still impressive though. He beat one while type-countered. If you brought in an Elite Four member from another region, they probably couldn't even manage that, the woman shrugged. Bruno was, after all, a former Kanto Elite Four member, one of the strongest. That's unfortunate, Mr. Bruno. You didn't defeat me this time. Dylan walked up and offered a handshake. No big deal. I didn't expect to win. Just didn't think I'd only take down one, Bruno admitted, scratching his head. He knew he was done the moment he pulled Psychic as the matchup. Still, he thought he'd do a bit better. You've done more than enough. Considering the type disadvantage, you can still take this. Dylan opened a polished case and revealed a beautiful, deep magenta badge with a 6-petal floral design. This is one of the Rota badges awarded with my approval. Please accept it, Mr. Bruno. Thanks, Champion Dylan. Bruno's eyes lit up. He took the badge without hesitation. He knew these Rota badges weren't cheap, even the standard ones went for over 10 million. It would make a fine family heirloom. Ring ring. His phone buzzed. Bruno glanced at the screen and his face darkened. Champion Dylan, I've got to go. I'll challenge you again another time. Of course. Dylan nodded as he watched Bruno rush out of the gym. He'd seen the caller ID, it was Agatha. Bruno slipped into a quiet alleyway. His phone buzzed again. Hello, he answered gruffly. He, Bruno, how's the mission? Agatha's raspy, eerie laughter made Bruno frown. It's done. No wonder you had time to run off to Rota Street and challenge Dylan. She cackled. Bruno stiffened. How did she know? Wait, his match had been public, the stands were packed. The whole region probably knew by now. He let his guard down. That old hag does browse the web. Hands got itchy. Wanted a good match, he grumbled. Hey, you're asking for a beating. Challenging Dylan was one thing, but you only managed to beat one of his Pokemon? Another voice chimed in with a scoff, Lorelei. I beat one. You think you could beat even that many? Go try for yourself. I bet you wouldn't even knock one out, Bruno snapped back, annoyed. He might not get along with Agatha and the others, but he really hated Lorelei questioning his strength. He'd accept trash talk from Lance or Agatha, they were monsters. But Lorelei? That woman had never beaten him even once. Who gave her the right? I do better than you, Lorelei replied coolly. Put. Yeah, okay. Talk is cheap. Why don't you go challenge him, huh? Bruno was not letting this go. At least I beat one and earned a badge from Dylan, alright? Chapter 326, A Duel with Leon. Shocking news. Former Kanto Elite Four Bruno challenges Rota Gym only defeats one of Champion Dylan's psychic-type mainstays. Full battle replay, Bruno vs Champion Dylan. Why did Bruno challenge Rota? Former Elite's hidden history with the gym. Rumor, former Champion Lance once sparred with Champion Dylan in private. The result? Unsurprisingly, Kanto's official forums exploded with threads. Not even the hype surrounding the Indigo tournament could compete. When it's something involving past and present champions or elites, especially when someone leaves under mysterious circumstances, the gossip flies fast. And the fans? The Pokeverse may not be as toxic as some of the forums from Dylan's past life, but in terms of sheer hype, they were unmatched. Rota Gym, Rear Garden. Bunch of bored people. Dylan gave the news a cursory glance and dismissed it. He had more important things to think about. Like tonight. Tonight, he'd finish his Johto run in the growth simulation. Leaf and Lily exchanged knowing glances, both amused by Dylan's usual calm. Beep beep beep. Dylan's phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number, but this was his private line. Not many had access. Hello? Who's this? Champion Dylan. I've heard much about you, came a calm, deep, and cultured voice on the other end. Just from the voice, Dylan could imagine the man on the line, composed, charismatic, refined.
And you are? Dylan raised an eyebrow. Rose. My name is Rose. Perhaps you've heard of me? Rose, the chairman of the Gaylor League? Dylan blinked in surprise. Lily and Leaf exchanged confused looks. They didn't recognize the name, but chairman of the Gaylor League was clear enough. Lily promptly pulled out her phone and started searching. I'm surprised Champion Dylan knows me, Rose chuckled lightly. I'm honored. Chairman Rose, you're too modest. Your contributions to the Gaylor region are well known. Without you, it wouldn't be what it is today. That's not something just anyone could accomplish. Dylan wasn't just being polite, he meant it. Anyone familiar with Pokemon Sword/Shield would have mixed feelings about Rose. But his dedication to Gaylor and the infrastructure he built? Unquestioned. Sword/Shield had no true evil team. Teen Yell was just a rowdy fan club. If you had to name a villain, it was Rose. But even then, he wasn't evil. Just desperate to protect Gaylor's future. His plan to tap into Eternatus's power may have failed, but he did help save the region indirectly. And Rose was indeed a charismatic, hard-working leader. Dylan, you flatter me. No, Chairman Rose, you truly deserve it, Dylan chuckled. Founding Macrocosmos and revitalizing Gaylor's economy, discovering Olina, introducing Dynamax battles to the league, even selecting Leon as a gym challenger, your efforts reshaped Gaylor entirely. And that wasn't an exaggeration. Rose carried 90% of the weight in Gaylor's modern development. Before his tenure, Gaylor was already sliding into corruption. The previous champion, Mustard, was asked to throw matches in rigged games. He retired in disgust. After taking over, Rose brought Dynamax to official gym matches, turning Gaylor into a global spectacle. Macrocosmos, his corporation, was a massive conglomerate: railways, energy, airlines, tech, construction. Rose had his hands in everything. And the profits? He reinvested them into Gaylor's cities, culminating in the creation of Wyndon, Gaylor's crown jewel. He also discovered Leon, offering him a recommendation letter. Together, Rose and Leon became Gaylor's spear and shield. Rose, the visionary businessman; Leon, the undefeated champion. Just doing my part, Rose said humbly. So, Chairman Rose, may I ask what prompted your call? Dylan was curious. Shouldn't the Champion Cup be underway in Gaylor? Their gym challenge system was rigorous. Fewer trainers made it to the Champion Cup, but the quality was top tier. I was wondering, Champion Dylan, would you be willing to visit Gaylor sometime soon? There's something I'd like to ask of you. Right now? Dylan was surprised. If you're busy, a couple of days later is fine. But we're on a tight schedule here. Ideally, within the next 3 days. Of course, we'll provide generous compensation. Rose's voice remained warm and courteous. I'm open to it. But may I ask what it is? I'd like to be prepared. Well, it's a rather personal matter, Rose said after a pause. But one thing I can say, if possible, I'd like to arrange a friendly match between you and Leon. Just as a private spar. Between champions, even a friendly match is no small matter, Dylan noted. I'm still Kanto's champion. Even unofficially, such a match will carry weight. Which is why I'm asking you to come as a private individual, Rose replied calmly. I've spoken to Chairman Goodshow. He said it's your decision. So that's how Rose got this private number. Goodshow must have handed it over. Officially, it would be an informal spar. But in reality? The media would turn it into a showdown between Gaylor and Kanto. Fine by me. But does Leon know about this? He does. He's very eager. He loves battling strong trainers, Rose chuckled. And Rose knew Leon well, too well. Leon was passionate, kind, strong, a role model for all of Gaylor. Outside of his horrendous sense of direction, he was the perfect champion. He faced down Eternatus to protect civilians. When he lost to the player character,
he congratulated them and stepped aside to guide the next generation from the battle tower. In short, Leon was the ideal champion and mentor. "I'm looking forward to it," Dylan smiled.
It'll be an honor to battle Leon. He was already wondering what team to use. Poison? Dark? Ghost? Maybe even Legendary? After all, Leon's ace was Gigantamax Charizard. Maybe Dylan should bring out his own Charizard for a Mega Evolution showcase? So many options. Excellent. I'll notify Leon and arrange your arrival. Just contact me when you land, I'll have someone waiting. Got it. No need to be so formal, though. You're my senior, you can just call me Dylan. Ah, very well then, Dylan. Gaylor eagerly awaits your visit. Goodbye, Chairman Rose. Goodbye.
After the call ended, Dylan sat and thought.
Why now? Was this about Eternatus?
But that didn't seem quite right. That guy doesn't strike me as the type to just set up a battle for fun, Leaf muttered, arms crossed.
You're Kanto's champion. Whether you win or lose, it means something. After all, Kanto is the original league, its champion carries prestige. If Dylan wins, people will say, of course, Kanto's champion is the strongest. But if he loses, the media storm would be insane. Of course, Goodshow wouldn't have agreed to this if he had any doubts.
In his eyes, Dylan was undefeated.
What's some Gaylor champion? It's fine, Dylan said with a small smile.
I've always wanted to see how strong Leon really is. Leon, after all, was the only trainer besides the player character who came close to subduing Eternatus even if it was fresh out of its slumber and not Eternamax. Still, it proved Leon's strength. Whatever, Leaf shrugged.
MHM Big Brother won't lose, Lily declared confidently. Good timing too. It's Thursday. Let's book a flight and make a trip of it.
I'll show you both around Gaylor.
Dylan checked flight schedules. He could also catch up with Byron and see how the hunt for the Regis was going. Yay!
That night, inside the growth simulation.
Indigo Plateau Johto region final battle. Dylan had defeated Will, Koga, Bruno, and Karen.
Only champion Lance remained.
It made sense, Johto's league was headquartered at Indigo Plateau. The Johto Elite Four were just the evolved lineup of Kanto's own. I've been waiting for you, Dylan, Lance declared, cloak billowing dramatically. I knew you'd make it here. No more words.
Let our battle decide who's truly stronger. I, the Dragon Master Lance, champion of the Pokemon League, accept your challenge.
Lance struck a pose, ready for battle. And then... Phew! So strong.
Champion Lance was on one knee, panting, looking up in awe at Dylan's calm expression.
Yeah. He got swept. By a single Frosmoth. Who told you to bring 3 Dragonites, huh?
You and your Pokemon have incredible strength.
That bond, it's no wonder they follow your lead. Still reeling, Lance led Dylan to the Hall of Fame. It's been a while since I entered this room.
Here, we forever honor those who earned the title of champion and their victorious Pokemon. He kept going, as champions do.
Dylan inserted his Pokédex into the machine. Data recorded. Champion, Dylan. Champion team, Frosmoth, Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, Dragonite, Gardevoir. 6 Pokemon portraits appeared on screen. Dylan's eyes lingered on Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina.
Time, space, and antimatter, Sinnoh's 3 divine creators.
Now the real question was, which one to choose first? Chapter 327, A Mythical Pokemon?
Dialga, the temporal dragon, possesses the power to control time, accelerate it, slow it, or even stop it altogether.
It said that time only began to flow upon Dialga's birth. So long as Dialga's heart beats, time continues to pass.
Then there's Palkia, the spatial dragon, with the power to distort space.
Described as a god in Sinnoh's mythology, it can tear open dimensional rifts to travel vast distances or slip into alternate spaces.
Both Dialga and Palkia are top-tier choices.
And Giratina? The renegade, lord of the reverse world, the most ferocious of the trio.
In terms of raw power, it's undoubtedly the strongest of the three.
If we're talking pure strength, Giratina's the obvious choice. But... Dylan tapped his chin thoughtfully.
From a pure combat standpoint, Giratina reigns supreme among the Sinnoh trio.
But even so, his eyes lingered between Dialga and Giratina.
Giratina was powerful, sure, but Dylan wasn't exactly lacking in muscle at the moment.
Giratina wouldn't surpass Ultra Necrozma in power anyway.
Dialga, meanwhile, may not be as overwhelmingly strong in a direct fight, but its ability to manipulate time was simply too valuable, especially since Dylan had plans that might require it.
And if this world's Arceus turned out to be the unstable version from the movie?
Then the power of time would become even more critical.
Palkia? Dylan scoffed. A glorified water dragon. Maybe next time. He'd be heading to Hoenn next.
After clearing that region, he'd pick between Giratina and Palkia, maybe let Palkia win the redemption arc, given its utility.
System, I choose Dialga. Decision made. Better to play it safe and lock in the Steel Dragon. Even if he couldn't freely use time travel powers right away, there'd be plenty of chances later. The next morning, 8 a.m. Dylan stepped into the backyard, freshly dressed and ready to start the day.
Lily was already there in her pajamas, prepping breakfast for Mioscarata and the others.
Lily. Morning, big bro.
She turned around, smiling sweetly. Her bright, crescent-eyed grin lit up the morning. Seeing his adorable sister smile first thing in the morning always put Dylan in a good mood. Lily, come see what your big brother just got. He pulled out a luxury ball, unable to hide the grin tugging at his lips.
Eh? Lily blinked.
This scene felt familiar.
Had her brother caught something crazy again? Come on out. Dylan tossed the ball into the sky.
A deep, reverberating roar echoed through the air.
Blue divine light shimmered as a majestic, deep blue Pokémon descended from above.
An overwhelming aura filled the air, thick enough to make most of the Pokémon in the backyard freeze in place. Lily instinctively pressed her hand to her chest. Her heart was pounding, breath quickening.
She didn't know what this Pokémon was, but its pressure was immense.
It had to be another powerful legendary. The creature stood tall like a sauropod, its body covered in dark blue metallic plating, striped with glowing azure patterns.
It exuded majesty. Divinity. Beep Dialga, Steel/Dragon type, temporal Pokémon.
Ability, Pressure.
Moves, Roar of Time, Iron Tail, Earth Power, Metal Burst, Power Gem, Aura Sphere, Dragon Claw.
Dex entry, it is said that time began flowing when Dialga was born.
What?
Lily's eyes widened as the Rotom Dex finished speaking.
Did she hear that right? Time began flowing when Dialga was born. Nice, huh? How do you like Dialga? Dylan chuckled, proud. Majestic, awe-inspiring, his time dragon looked every bit the part. Thankfully, it wasn't shiny either. Shiny Dialga's greenish hue was just bad. Not that it mattered. He wasn't interested in this world's native Dialga anyway.
This world, Dialga murmured as it touched down, divine blue light still dancing around its frame. It raised its head, peering into the sky. Its eyes seemed to gaze through time itself.
Dylan, something about this world's father feels off. By father, it meant Arceus. Each parallel world had its own Arceus, and with it, its own creation trio.
Even if this wasn't its native world, calling Arceus father wasn't strange.
There might be a reason for that, Dylan replied, arching a brow. Come on back for now. He returned Dialga to its ball. Its presence was making the rest of the Pokémon too nervous to breathe.
As Dialga returned, it suddenly found itself hearing a chorus of strange new voices in its mind.
Reshiram, wah! It's Dialga. Another big bro joins the family. Look at me, I'm the prettiest one here, cute.jpg. Dialga, what? Lunala, ugh, another dragon? So annoying. But hey, Dragon Bro, check me out. When I fuse with Big Bro, I count as a dragon too. Innocent.jpg. Dialga. Coraden, dominance -1. Narraden, dominance -1. Terrapagos, oh ho, another boss shows up. Guess I can slack off more now, hee hee. Kurum, did someone say dragon? I love fighting dragons. Wait, it's Dialga, meh, not interested. Rayquaza, you deal with this guy. Rayquaza. Dialga, what is this place? The legendary group chat was loud. Big Bro, was that Dex entry real? Lily was still shaken. If it was true, then this Dialga was unreal. It's real, Dylan confirmed with a smile. Time began flowing when Dialga came into existence. Lily stood stunned. Time, space, antimatter, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. They're known as the mythical Pokemon. They're actual gods. Technically speaking, if any Pokemon were to be called divine, it would be Arceus, the Creation Trio, and the Lake Guardians. Officially, these were mythical Pokemon in Sinnoh lore. Do you know the creation myth, Lily? Dylan fiddled with the jagged blue gem in his hand but didn't wait for an answer. The creator made the universe, then made Dialga and Palkia. When Dialga's heart beats, time flows. When Palkia breathes, space stabilizes. They're the ones who shaped reality as we know it. Lily's jaw dropped. That was insane. She didn't doubt her brother's words at all. If he said it, it had to be true. Which meant her brother had just captured the god of time. She gazed at Dylan, eyes full of pure admiration. No matter how strong she knew he was, he always managed to surprise her again. Come on, let's eat. Dylan gently ruffled her hair, smiling. Meanwhile, in a dark pocket of spacetime, a pair of glowing red eyes slowly opened. The temporal dragon stirred. It peered forward into a vortex of distorted spacetime. Its expression was cold, regal, yet tinged with confusion. Something felt wrong. It had sensed the presence of another like itself. Another Dialga? But no ripples in time had occurred, no disturbance, no breach. The aura had vanished quickly, so quickly it might have been its imagination. Could Father have created a sister? No. That's ridiculous. The dragon shook its head. More likely it was just a false reading, especially with Father stirring. The dimensional pulses from the origin plane were growing stronger. Sigh, what a headache. Humans are truly strange creatures. To think they'd try to deceive even Father. If he awakens, this whole world could pay the price. Better he stays asleep. I'll protect this world for him in the meantime. 2 days later. Don't worry, Chairman. If Lance makes any move, I'll be back right away. It's not just that. I still don't know why you took those 8 origin badges, Tamarangi replied with a frown. All 8 had been stolen, and for what? They were mostly symbolic now. Tamarangi couldn't figure out what Lance and the others were planning. But regardless, this was no longer just internal politics. They'd gone rogue. We'll wait and see. As long as they don't hurt anyone, Dylan nodded calmly. MMH Dylan, you do understand the stakes in Galar, right? Tamarangi smirked. He hadn't expected Chairman Rose to personally request a match between Dylan and Leon. Perfect timing, too. Lately, there'd been whispers questioning Dylan's qualifications as champion. This is the perfect chance for you to shut them up and show Galar what Kanto's made of. Tamarangi was thrilled. Like sending a pillow to a yawning man. Let them all see, Kanto doesn't need Lance. Dylan is its future. And when word of this champion versus champion clash spreads? Tamarangi had plans to give it a little push. Next year's World Championships were coming up. He'd already argued to rank Dylan as number 1, but with this? No one would question it again. Chapter 328, A Battle Between Two Champions. Galar Region.
At present, what the Galar region is most renowned for is its competitive culture. Among all the regions, Galar undoubtedly holds competitive battling in the highest regard.
Galar's gym battles are fully open to the public and immensely popular.
While other regions also allow spectators at gym battles, it's on a completely different level in Galar. Here, battles are held in massive stadiums, and thanks to the region's enthusiasm for competition, nearly every battle draws a full crowd.
Winden City.
The largest metropolis in Galar, established under the guidance of Chairman Rose as part of his expansive development plans. To get around the city, tourists can take advantage of Winden's flying taxis or its efficient monorail network.
Dylan, Leaf, and Lily stepped out of Winden Airport and were immediately met with the awe-inspiring view of the towering metropolis.
At the center stood the most prominent landmark, Rose Tower.
The skyscraper, crowned with a dome, dominated the skyline.
It was the headquarters of Macrocosmos, the corporate empire founded by Chairman Rose and named after the man himself.
"Are you Champion Dylan?"
A tall brunette woman approached them, her tone cool and professional.
"Secretary Olina?" Dylan gave her a quick glance.
Dressed in red and black, she was Rose's personal assistant and vice president of Macrocosmos, a woman of remarkable poise and strength. Her story with Rose was well known. Once a nameless researcher, she had been discovered by Rose and went on to develop the Dynamax band, enabling trainers to utilize Dynamax energy at power spots. Since then, she had loyally supported Rose. Though she admired him deeply, Rose had always seemed more focused on Galar's future than his personal life.
"The chairman asked me to receive you." Olina bowed slightly.
Her expression remained cold, as usual, but those who knew her understood she was actually a deeply emotional person, especially when angered, at which point she could become downright terrifying.
"An honor. I didn't expect you personally." Dylan smiled.
Chairman Rose originally intended to come himself, but he's currently attending to some pressing matters and couldn't make it. "This way, please."
Olina gestured toward a nearby flying taxi. "Is that a Corviknight? What a cool bird." Leaf marveled.
"Yes. In Galar, flying taxis are powered by Corviknight," Olina nodded. Corviknight's large build and superb flying skills made it ideal for transport. It was even the foundation of the Galar Taxi Company, a company that ferried passengers between towns.
"In Paldea, they use Squawkabilly instead," Dylan added. "That's because Tinkaton is Corviknight's natural predator."
They hurl rocks with their hammers, making air travel with Corviknight too dangerous there. The group observed the black armored bird perched atop the carriage, its steel-like feathers gleaming.
Corviknight was undeniably majestic.
Dylan noted to himself that when he eventually built a flying-type team, he'd have to consider training one. Soon, they arrived at Rose Tower.
Inside, Olina led them to Rose's office.
But the chairman himself wasn't there.
"Please wait a moment.
The Champion Cup is wrapping up today, so the chairman will return shortly."
She served them tea. "Secretary Olina, are there any promising new trainers in this year's Champion Cup?" Dylan asked with interest.
"There are," she replied after a moment. "Leon's recommended trainers, Gloria and his brother Hop, have both made it through to the Champion Cup. So has Marnie, younger sister of gym leader Piers.
All three are exceptional talents." The Galar Champion Cup was unique among regional leagues.
While the grass, water, and fire gyms eased in new trainers, the rest of the gyms rarely held back.
In fact, the later gym leaders, like Piers and Raihan, were considered to rival even the Elite Four of other regions. For three such rookies to make it to the Champion Cup? That said a lot. Gloria, Dylan raised an eyebrow.
She was the protagonist of Sword and Shield.
Hop and Marnie were her key rivals, Leon's younger brother and Piers' sister, respectively. There was also Bede, Olina added, her voice dipping slightly. But he went astray.
A shame, given how much trust the chairman placed in him.
Dylan chuckled.
He remembered Bede well, a prideful and abrasive boy raised in an orphanage, whose life was changed when Chairman Rose gifted him a Pokémon. Gifted but arrogant, Bede was sharp-tongued, especially toward those he saw as weaker.
Hop, for example, had once been crushed by Bede.
and fell into a deep funk afterward.
But after destroying a historical monument in pursuit of wishing stars, Bede's gym challenge was revoked.
Still, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Pierre's replacement, Opal, saw potential in him and took him under her wing. Eventually, Bede became the new fairy-type gym leader and gained a new obsession with all things pink.
He caused today's delay by crashing the stadium, Olena added, clearly annoyed. Wanted one final battle with Gloria. Dylan nodded. He recalled that plot point.
Bede had never managed to beat Gloria, and it became his driving motivation.
That final battle helped him let go of his bitterness and grow. All in all, Gaylor was brimming with young talent. Hop, Marnie, Bede, each of them a future powerhouse.
After half an hour, the door opened and a tall man in a silver-gray suit entered the room. His hair was impeccably styled, a lock sweeping across his brow. His calm smile and world-weary eyes made him exude mature charm.
Dylan, thank you for waiting. My sincerest apologies.
Chairman Rose approached, hand extended.
It's no trouble at all. Did everything go well? Dylan asked, rising to shake his hand. Perfectly, Rose smiled. That boy is finally on the right path.
He had just witnessed Bede's battle with Gloria. Though Bede had lost, Rose was deeply pleased with how far he'd come. With a few more words exchanged, Rose invited the trio to dine at Wyndon's finest restaurant.
Dylan, how does the day after tomorrow sound for your battle with Leon?
Whatever works best for you.
I've got a few days off anyway, Dylan replied. Excellent. Leon is thrilled about the match he's already preparing. Rose then handed Dylan a box. Inside are 3 Dynamax bands.
While you can't use Dynamax in other regions, here in Gaylor, at Power Spots, you'll be able to experience it fully.
It's a unique aspect of battles here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I, for one, can't wait to see your battle with Leon. Rose knew Leon well.
Even when faced with the likes of Lance, who was considered invincible, he wouldn't be outclassed.
And Dylan?
Younger, but rumored to command legendary Pokémon.
Still, legendaries weren't invincible. Rose had faith in Leon. And if Leon did lose?
That would only confirm Dylan's strength and reassure Rose that the champion of Kanto was truly worthy. I look forward to seeing Leon's power firsthand, Dylan replied. I'll treat this match seriously.
After all, this wasn't just any battle, it was Kanto versus Gaylor. Got any plans for tomorrow?
Rose asked.
The Champion Cup finals are being held. Interested in watching from the stands?
I'd love to, but I've already arranged to meet with an elder in the Crown Tundra. Rose's brow lifted.
From Hoenn, Mr. Briny, was it?
No, Mr. Looker.
He's found the ruins of Regieleki and Regidrago. I see. The Crown Tundra is full of mysteries.
There've been sightings of the Galarian legendary birds as well.
Dylan nodded. Hopefully we'll find something interesting. If you need more time, we can postpone the match. No need. 1 day's more than enough. In that case, I'll make the announcement.
This battle, it might draw as much attention as the Champion Cup itself.
Rose smiled, already envisioning the headlines. A clash between 2 champions, what more could the world ask for?
Good, Dylan smirked.
Just what he wanted.
After dinner, they strolled through Wyndon before heading to a villa Rose had arranged for them.
Tomorrow, they'd venture into the Crown Tundra. Maybe they'd get lucky. Who knew?
Perhaps, they'd find the king of bountiful harvests.
Chapter 329, 2 Giants. Crown Tundra.
A frigid land of towering snowy mountains, where people lived in small villages relying on each other for survival. At the summit of a snowy mountain, within a weathered and ancient royal temple, a pair of eyes slowly opened, gazing into the endless snowy landscape.
Deep and calm, they showed no ripple of emotion.
In the blink of an eye, centuries had passed.
Blastrier. Spectrier, still not back, huh?
The figure let out a sigh, slowly lifting its gaze toward the dim sky. It could sense that its two playful steeds weren't within the Crown Shrine region again, clearly off playing somewhere, overcome with excitement. Sigh. Such mischievous steeds. If they ever get captured one day, they'll come crying back for sure. Shaking its head, the figure took a gentle step forward and walked out of the temple. After traveling by train, Dylan and his companions arrived at Slippery Slope, the starting point of the Crown Tundra. Dressed in thick winter coats prepared in advance, the three faced the icy world. "Brr, it's seriously cold," Leaf said, breathing into her hands. The name might have warned them, but the cold still caught her off guard. Lily wore a fluffy hat, her whole body wrapped tightly in layers, leaving only her beautiful eyes exposed.
"Dylan, where to next?" "Freezington?" Leaf asked. "No need.
We're heading straight to the 3-point pass." Instead of going to Freezington, Dylan bought a map from a local staff member and released Reshiram.
As soon as Reshiram appeared, it shivered.
Being a fire-type dragon, it naturally disliked the cold. Still, it could endure this kind of chill. Carrying the three on its back, the white dragon flew toward the direction Dylan pointed. Technically speaking, the Crown Tundra was a region encompassing a large swath of land almost as expansive as Kitakami in the north. It was divided into various zones, and Dylan's current destination was 3-point Pass. While flying on Reshiram, the freezing wind was blocked by its protective aura, so despite the low temperatures, it wasn't too uncomfortable. Dylan studied the map, his gaze locking on a frozen tree marked at the top of the snowy region, the most important location of the Crown Tundra, Crown Shrine.
"Brother, I found a legend about the Galar region," Lily called, happily pushing back her hood. "Oh? They say a Pokemon once ruled over Galar as a king. Brother, do you know this one?"
Eyes sparkling, Lily clearly hoped her brother could explain the tale she had uncovered online, though most of the information was vague and incomplete. "That's the King of Bountiful Harvests."
"It really did once rule the Galar region," Dylan nodded.
He was surprised she had even found info on Calyrex. After all, modern-day Galar had long forgotten this ancient king. Even the hero of Sword and hero of Shield had been erased from public memory, their accomplishments buried.
"King of Bountiful Harvests? What a grand name," Leaf commented with interest. "Tell us the story, Dylan." "Sure. Let me think." Dylan paused to gather his thoughts.
A long time ago, in ancient Galar, there lived a monarch who resided in the Crown Shrine.
When it raised its left hand, flowers bloomed and grasses thrived.
When it raised its right hand, the land became fertile and crops flourished. For this, it was known as the King of Bountiful Harvests, though its true name was Calyrex.
Both Leaf and Lily were amazed. It sounded like a powerful grass-type Pokemon.
Calyrex was a kind and compassionate king who cared for all life within its domain. But Glastrier and Spectrier, kings among Pokemon, were hostile toward humans who invaded their lands and often attacked them and their Pokemon.
Calyrex subdued them, and afterward, the two horses formed a deep bond with it.
From then on, they rode together across the land. Indeed, this was the tale of the King of Legend and his steeds, the official title given to Calyrex and its horses.
But no kingdom lasts forever.
Calyrex's domain gradually fell into decline, and people ceased to worship it.
Dylan paused.
He didn't share the last part of the story.
According to the games, Calyrex's power came from people's faith.
As that faith faded, so too did its strength, eventually even losing its steeds.
But the game logic was flawed.
When the protagonist reunited Calyrex with Glastrier or Spectrier, it regained its power.
So why did the steeds leave in the first place if riding them restored Calyrex's strength? If the bond was truly deep, why abandon it? If the reins were the only issue, how deep was that bond really?
Still, all game lore had its inconsistencies.
What Dylan now wondered was,
"I'm curious whether this world's Calyrex is also waiting for someone to help it," he mused. It seemed unlikely that a king as ancient and powerful as Calyrex would be as weakened and ghost-like as the games portrayed even without faith.
Well, they'd deal with the ruins first, then head to Freezington to check. "Brother, where did Calyrex go in the end?" Lily asked eagerly.
"Who knows? Maybe it's living in seclusion somewhere," Dylan replied with a shrug. They continued flying on Reshiram. The white dragon was fast and stable, perfect for travel.
3-Point Pass lay in the southeastern part of the Crown Tundra.
From here, looking north revealed snowy mountains, while looking south showed green meadows.
Mr. Brandon. Upon arrival, Dylan immediately spotted Brandon waiting for them.
Dressed warmly, the seasoned man was bundled up in thick layers, practical and experienced.
Long time no see, Mr. Brandon. Lily chirped, waving.
My, Lily, you've grown even prettier, Brandon said with a rare smile, then turned to Dylan.
Congratulations, Dylan, on becoming champion of Kanto.
Just a forced promotion, really. There aren't many better options right now, Dylan chuckled. No, your strength is more than worthy, Brandon said earnestly, arms crossed.
But I've no particular ambition for the title. Let's drop that. Mr. Brandon, have you found them? Based on the info you gave me, I've been searching for a month. I'm certain I've found the location of their seals.
Brandon smiled with pride. He was a professional when it came to ruins, after all.
Follow me.
I'll take you there. After about 10 minutes of trekking, they arrived at a stone temple with an ancient door inscribed with faded, cryptic text.
This is it, Split Decision Ruins. Brandon gestured. The door is part of the seal. But with help from Regirock and the others, I managed to break it. We can head right in. Inside, the temple was vast. At the far end stood 2 statues. Lily and Leaf looked around with wonder.
The structure was aged and time-worn.
Dylan, go on. Let me see these new giants. Brandon couldn't hide his excitement.
Dylan stepped forward with 2 pokeballs in hand. As he approached, the statues began to shake violently.
Boom!
With twin crashes, the statues shattered.
Smoke and dust rose. Re-EGI.
One voice was deep and gravelly, the other sharp and piercing.
Orange and blue lights shimmered as 2 forms slowly floated upward, looming over Dylan.
Regidrago.
Regialiki. You've been asleep a long time. Holding the pokeballs, Dylan looked up at the 2 legendary titans.
To his left, Regidrago resembled a dark red orb with jagged patterns like fangs and a pair of short legs. On either side were dragon skull halves and upper and lower jaw, complete with horns and eyes.
Deep Regidrago. Dragon type. Dragon Orb Pokemon. Ability, Dragon's Maw.
Moves, Explosion, Hyper Beam, Dragon Energy, Outrage, Dragon Dance, Hammer Arm, Dragon Claw.
Entry, its body is a crystallization of dragon energy. Said to possess the powers of every dragon-type Pokemon. To his right, Regialiki gleamed with pale electric arcs. Its yellow, ion-based body bore 7 pink-orange dots on its head. Deep Regialiki. Electric type. Electron Pokemon. Ability, Transistor. Moves.
Explosion, Hyper Beam, Zap Cannon, Thunder Cage, Thunderbolt, Extreme Speed. Entry, its body is made entirely of electric organs.
Can generate enough electricity to power the entire Galar region. The Electric Titan Regialiki. The Dragon Titan Regidrago. Brandon beamed in delight. There really were more titans. Wonderful. Chapter 330, Calyrex Wonders? Brandon had always been fond of the legendary giants, having spent years tracking down Regirock and its companions.
It wasn't about collecting or chasing legendary power, he simply loved them. And now, seeing 2 more legendary titans, he was completely satisfied. Electric and dragon types, Dylan, be careful. Even after being sealed for so long, they won't be easy to handle, Brandon warned kindly, like a senior offering advice. After all, he'd caught Regirock and the others one at a time back in the day.
No need to worry, Mr. Brandon. My brother is super strong now.
Lily beamed with pure, adorable confidence, not worried in the slightest.
Please.
Just 2 legendary giants, nothing compared to the mythical Regigigas who was said to have created the others.
But even Regigigas?
If it showed up, she believed her brother could beat it and catch it too.
Brandon nodded, saying nothing.
He could tell how much Lily admired Dylan, so her saying that wasn't surprising. Up on the altar, Dylan decided to go with Iron Valiant and Garchomp for the job purely for matchup advantage.
And then? Well, that was a little tricky. Took some effort.
Picking up the two treasured balls, Dylan let out a casual sigh.
Brandon. Brandon glanced at his watch.
From start to finish, the entire capture took about 10 minutes.
A little tricky? Dylan, are we even speaking the same language here?
Well, sorry for the wait.
Captured successfully.
Let's go, Dylan said as he stepped down from the altar. It had taken a bit of time, sure, but within acceptable range. The important part was they were caught.
Didn't take long at all. So, Dylan, where to next?
Brandon asked as they returned to the entrance of the Split Decision ruins, where his gear was already packed.
Probably explore the rest of the Crown Tundra. Might as well take a look around while I'm here.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Brandon, tomorrow I'm having an exhibition match against Champion Leon.
Want to come watch? Wait, Dylan, you're having a match with Leon? Brandon blinked in surprise. Yup. A public match? Seems like it.
The venue is Winden Stadium, Dylan smiled. Rose had already mentioned this.
So they reached out to you, huh?
Figures. They're clearly trying to piggyback off your recent rise to champion status, Brandon frowned. Though he wasn't from Kanto himself, he still found Gaylor's PR games off-putting, especially since Dylan was someone he respected. Still, this could work both ways. If you win, no one can question your title anymore, he added thoughtfully. Brandon had always been more of a free agent, but technically, he was registered with the Hoenn League. His experience gave him insight, this was more than just a simple match.
Well, I wasn't thinking too much about that.
I'm more interested in facing Leon seriously, Dylan shrugged.
That was honestly his goal. In that case, I'll head to Winden. Dylan, make sure to win and win clean, Brandon chuckled.
With Dylan looking so relaxed and confident, he could tell the young champion was more than ready.
I'll be off then. Been stuck in this tundra way too long. As much as I'm used to roughing it, I could really use a hot bath. See you later.
Watching Brandon disappear into the snowy horizon, Dylan took out Reshiram again.
Peppa, hey, wake up.
He rummaged through his backpack and pulled out a round, fluffy Clefairy and gave its chubby face a gentle tap.
What is it?
I was having such a good nap, the creature muttered groggily. Then it quickly shrank back into the warmth of the bag, shivering from the cold.
All you do is eat and sleep.
Use your psychic sense and help me scout for any unusual Pokemon nearby.
Ugh, knew I'm still tired. I'm just a baby, you know.
Babies need their sleep to grow, it whined, pulling at the zipper of the backpack to close it again.
20 cans of premium food. Cough well, sleep can be made up later. What are we looking for, Dylan? Peppa asked with a bright grin. Typical. Dylan rolled his eyes, picked up the chubby Peppa, and got on Reshiram. The dragon rose into the sky with its 3 human passengers and 1 rotund psychic pig. If there's anything special nearby, let me know. You got it, boss.
After flying for about 30 minutes, they passed over a snow-covered valley.
The view is gorgeous, Lily whispered, eyes sparkling.
She was slowly getting used to the cold, and the snowy landscape beneath them looked like a dream, pure white, gentle snowfall, utterly magical. If you like snow that much, I could have Kura Menardicuno make you a snowy landscape back home, Dylan offered with a chuckle. His ice types did like to hang out at the snowy hill in his backyard, but with their growing numbers, that space was getting a bit cramped. Natural snow looks nicer, Lily replied with a blink. The mention of Kura made her nervous, that one was a bit too wild. Of all the legendaries Dylan owned, Kyurem was the hardest to approach. Below us, Dylan, there's a strong one, Peppa suddenly reported.
Got it. Let's go down, Reshiram.
Reshiram descended per Peppa's guidance, landing in a snowy clearing. Just ahead, a white horse was munching on a carrot, head tilted curiously at them.
Ah, this guy, Dylan muttered.
It was a large, muscular horse covered in snow-white fur. Its hooves were encased in ice, and it wore a spiked, icy mask, giving it a fierce, almost monstrous look. This was Glastrier, one of the king's beloved steeds.
Beep Glastrier. Ice type. Wild horse Pokemon. Ability, Shilling Neigh.
Moves, Swords Dance, Double Edge, Taunt, Thrash, Icicle Crash, Mist, Avalanche.
Entry, emits intense cold from its hooves. Extremely aggressive. Will do anything to obtain what it desires.
Hearing the Rotom Dex's description, both Lily and Leaf paused.
Ha! This is Glastrier? Isn't it supposed to be with Calyrex? Leaf asked, puzzled. Based on Dylan's story, Glastrier became Calyrex's mount after being defeated, right?
So where was Calyrex? Who knows, Dylan said with an amused look as he eyed the carrot-munching horse. This guy's nerves were made of steel.
It didn't care about their presence at all and just kept chomping away. Glastrier! Buzz off!
The ice horse turned with an annoyed snort. Even without understanding Pokemon speak, both girls could sense that it wasn't exactly welcoming them.
Short temper, huh? I like it. Dylan smirked. Despite its white coat and ice typing, Glastrier had a fiery, violent personality.
Its counterpart, Spectrier, was calm and quiet. Looks like you've met plenty of humans before, probably been bothered more than a few times. But I'm not like the others, Dylan said, fiddling with an empty treasure ball.
Come on, fight me. If you lose, you become my Pokemon. Glastrier.
Glastrier stomped its hooves and turned to face him, eyes gleaming behind its icy mask, half mocking, half amused.
You know who I am, right?
You've got guts, human. Glastrier, the steed of legend, Calyrex's loyal mount, but right now, you're wild.
I've got every right to catch you, Dylan grinned. Glastrier? Glastrier blinked. Wait, this human can understand me? Glastrier.
The horse's eyes lit up in excitement. This human was different from the countless others who had tried and failed to tame it.
Maybe this one would be fun.
It had roamed the Crown Tundra for over 100 years. Calyrex was always napping in the temple, while Glastrier, less inclined to sleep, would sneak off to wander. Over the years, it had encountered many trainers. The Crown Tundra was a famous destination, after all. But none of them had posed a challenge. It had beaten them all easily and gotten bored.
Glastrier. Glastrier neighed proudly. Bring it on, human. You still haven't answered. If I beat you, will you willingly become my Pokemon? Dylan pulled out his phone and hit record. Glastrier. Like that'll happen. Glastrier snorted arrogantly. And if you do lose? Glastrier. Then fine, I'll be your Pokemon. Perfect. Dylan saved the recording. Everyone heard it. If he caught Glastrier, it would be by agreement, even Calyrex couldn't object. Glastrier. Come on, human. Let's have a real fight. The horse neighed with glee. It loved a good battle. Nice spirit. Reshiram, you're up. Reshiram, who had been suppressing its presence, stepped forward. Its blue eyes were calm, its snowy white wings folding slightly as it stared down Glastrier. Beautiful, holy, noble, the embodiment of truth. Glastrier. Glastrier reared up, eager and ready, then launched into a fearless charge. Let's go. Meanwhile, a shadowy black steed slowly walked through the snow. Upon its back sat a small, regal white Pokemon, a dark green bloom on its head like a crown. This was Calyrex, the king of bountiful harvests, the ancient monarch who once ruled all of Galar. Sigh, must I always look for you myself? Holding the reins, Calyrex sighed in resignation. Every time it woke up, it had to find its steeds again. Each nap meant a missing horse. After thousands of years, it was exhausting. Spectrier. Snowy brute,
Who knows what kind of mess you've caused in town this time? Calyrex lifted its head toward the distant gorge, suddenly sensing something odd.
Its voice trailed off. Glastrier. Was that Glastrier's voice? And it was saying, "Your Majesty, help me." Wait, humans are this savage now? Someone was beating its horse so badly it was crying for help?
That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader.
Thanks so much for listening.
As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.